Luigi's Mansion is one of Nintendo's most unique and memorable titles. When it first came out, people got upset because it wasn't a Mario platformer, so Sunshine comes out and people got even more upset about that because it was a Mario platformer. Gamers are like old people in that we love to complain about everything and we're riddled with health problems. All of that aside, this simultaneously whimsical and creepy work of art is one of the defining titles for the GameCube, and its impeccable atmosphere and rewarding exploration makes it worth playing to this day. One thing I've always wanted to see is Luigi's Mansion ROM hacks. On paper, it seems like a game that could lend itself very well to ROM hacks with all its secrets and hidden treasures. You could make a new mansion altogether, you could create new enemies, or you could put them in the mansion from Resident Evil or something. As it stands currently, the Luigi's Mansion ROM hacking scene is still in its infancy, but fortunately, we do have some specimens to look at, and today, I want to talk about two of them. These just so happen to be two of my favorite genres of ROM hacks, a really uncharacteristically scary one, and a beta restoration hack. That's right, boyos, we got another double feature today. So rev up those vacuums because I'm about to make your Monday 3% better. The first hack I want to talk about today is Luigi's Mansion Extra Tangy Classic, made by none other than Portable Productions. As I understand it, this is an old, unfinished build of a ROM hack that is getting fully rebuilt, I think, and this was a bonus release to hold people over until the new version is finished. Now, what you have to understand about this hack is that it is scary, way scarier than you would expect. I read the title Extra Tangy and expected some kind of weird meme shit where his model would be replaced with a 2D weegee sprite and it's full of Amogus references and shit, but no. This is a legitimately frightening thing. You enter the mansion and Luigi sees a ghost of himself hanging from a rope. Voices and loud noises torment Luigi as he desperately tries to escape this horrific nightmare. Lightning strikes, aggressive, plentiful enemies. This fucking thing. From an audio-visual perspective, this game is absolutely a nightmare, which is a compliment. The mansion looks more decrepit than it used to. The lighting has been heavily modified to be way more dark and frightening. It's funny actually, there was a period of time in my life where I had these recurring weird dreams about Luigi's Mansion where it was far more scary than the original game. And Extra Tangy Edition looks oddly similar to those nightmares. It's kinda trippy, to be honest. It's like I subconsciously conjured this game in my sleep. The Game Boy Horror also serves as a first-person view of Luigi, so you can see what he sees while you're exploring the mansion. This already terrifying rendition of the mansion you once knew is made even more unsettling in first person. Gameplay-wise, this is fundamentally mostly the same as the original. Catching ghosts looks and sounds a teeny bit different, but it works largely the same. But what's different is the difficulty. In this game, you get one life and you can't save. It's one run, one life, one death. And combined with super aggressive enemies, you can imagine this game gets really wild. You do not get health in this game, not like you do in the original game. If you want to get your health back, you have to catch 30 ghosts, which replenishes a measly 10 health. Enemies can slap you for 20, so as you can imagine, this game is evil. Of course, you can also talk to this ghostly toad in the lobby, who I think is supposed to look like the dude from XS Express in Thousand Year Door, but if you talk to him too much, he gets really mad and he crashes the game. Yes, there are new characters and models in this game. There's this black-haired woman in this room full of vintage 16mm cameras. I would love to know the story behind this. There's also this lanky bastard who I think is based on a model from the beta of the original game. Some enemies behave differently, like the baby, who is no longer a giant boss. As you can see, there are also new rooms, like this public bathroom stall, the ballroom full of these pixelated 3D boos, and this room with indoor trees. The audio is also completely different. The music is far more eerie and terrifying. It really is like playing a weird creepypasta game that you'd buy from a kooky old guy running a yard sale. It is worth reiterating that the game is unfinished and it can be very wonky. I kept running into this error message, which weirdly is an actual GameCube error message and not a dolphin error message. Also, it seems that even though the level models are changed heavily, they still have the same collision data from the original game. There are invisible barriers all over the place which seem to roughly correspond to the actual physical objects from the original game. Otherwise, the difficulty aspect of it can be a little frustrating. I think this game has a lot going for it already without the difficulty incentives, but at the same time, that feeling of urgency kinda makes the game far scarier than it would have been if it was just baby mode. And yes, it is a short game, but when all is said and done, it is very impressive, and I'm really looking forward to the full version coming out when it eventually does. The other ROM hack I want to speak about today is Luigi's Mansion Beta Restoration, made by the same creator. Anybody who has watched my ROM hack videos for a while knows that I am a huge fan of beta restoration projects. I love it when beta content for video games gets leaked. I love it when hackers manually recreate beta versions of games based on archived screenshots and videos. It makes me feel like I'm playing something I'm not supposed to be a fly on the wall of the game developer's office. Naturally, this hack is a rebuilt version of a pre-release version of Luigi's Mansion based heavily on screenshots and footage from E3. Enemy designs and behavior have been heavily modified to more closely match the old footage and screenshots. The Game Boy Horror shows the time of day, possibly alluding to the cut gameplay feature in which the mansion disappears along with Mario if you take too much time trying to save him. If you run the poltergust too hard, it will actually overheat and hurt you, much like in the beta. Whenever you clear a room, a treasure chest explodes into copious amounts of money. Coins don't behave like they do in the final game, they stand and rotate indefinitely. The level layouts have been modified, most notably the master bedroom, which now has 2 separate beds because ghosts like to practice the safest sex you can have, which is none at all. Once the time hits 1:30, EGAD summons you back to the lab. By that point, if you've been playing efficiently, you've reached what I think is pretty much the end of the hack. Yes, this is a short ROM hack, but the footage and screenshots are very finite, so it makes sense. This hack is actually kind of unsettling. It's not aggressively haunting like Extra Tangy, although it is weird in a much more subtle way. People love to throw around the word liminal spaces a lot. I don't know that that would be an accurate descriptor, but there's something about playing a game that's familiar, but with everything being just a little bit off, that I find simultaneously fascinating and creepy. And this is the way I tend to feel about every beta-themed ROM hack I played before. This one is kind of a special case because Luigi's Mansion is already supposed to be creepy, and the icing on the cake is definitely the music in this case. Both of these hacks are great, and I really hope they promise a bright future for Luigi's Mansion ROM hacks. As I said before, the scene is still in its infancy, and without the clout that something like Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time have, I imagine it'll probably be a while until it really gets off the ground, but I would very much love to be proven wrong. So if you know of any other Luigi's Mansion mods, do not hesitate to hit me up in the comments. Otherwise, thank you all for watching, and good night.